In this corner, the podcast on Fight TV, I'm Smitty along with my co-hostess extraordinaire, Amber Renee Dixon, boxing historian and writer Lee Groves, and joined by the former UFC welterweight champion, Tyron Woodley. He takes on Jake Paul August the 29th in Cleveland on Showtime pay-per-view. Tyron, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Smitty?
I am better than I have been, not as good as I'm going to get. I'm going to tell you right away, I'm a boxing guy, but this will be a time I am picking you to win this fight. I'm also going to try my best during these next few minutes to give you my opinion on what you should do. You usually talk to boxing people that are going to ask you what you're going to do. I know more than all of them. I'm the best in the world at breaking down fights. So I'm going to tell you in just a second, but what I want to know right now, tell me about training camp as you're just, about a month away from this fight.
As I'm just about a few minutes from waking up from the deepest nap ever, from running out in this heat in Miami. So
my hometown.
For me, it's been a blessing. Yeah, it's been a blessing in disguise. I've been working with Pedro Diaz, who's a former Cuban national champ coach, 21 Olympic gold medals. I've also been working with Floyd's camp, and I started boxing right in 2008 with Eric Brown of Wildcard Boxing. So what I've done is really connected those guys, almost like the Autobots, and I really made them cohesively mesh together. That the style and the intensity of Pedro, and just the muscle memory, and just the conditioning and accountability. And Floyd's camp is really smooth. They're really great at playing a chess game and putting things together, and no errors, no mistakes, no hands down, no feet out of position. And Eric knows me very well. He's been training me since 2008. So I just really put together a team, not so much just for this fight, but to start a strong foundation for boxing for now and for the future.
And I like that. But you are an athlete. You were a great wrestler in college. You played football before that, 12 years a pro, a UFC champion for 3 years. But I think it's really important for a fight of this magnitude against a much larger guy that for this, you focus on not training to be a boxer, but training to box and beat this specific guy, Jake Paul, because that's what's in front of you. How specific is your game, is your fight plan towards Jake Paul, rather than working on all the symmetry as a fighter?
I feel like Jake Paul is not the most elite level fighter. He's not a Carlo, he's not a Canelo, he's not, any of those guys of that magnitude. So if I work on sound foundation and sound fundamental, those are going to beat him in my sleep anyway. So why would I know in my mind I want to pursue this route of boxing and only focus on just what he throws? He's so new to the sport. He's such in the infant stage. I can expect him maybe not to look anything like his last fight. He's just been in it for 5 minutes or 2 seconds. So why would I dedicate all the time to the very limited footage we have? He hasn't been in there more than 2 rounds. He's not showing any training, any sparring, any movement, any behaviors that I can really look at and make a game plan on. So what I'm going to do is train reactions. So if he throw a jab, or fucking Canelo throw a jab, or De La Hoya throw a jab, I should be able to move my head out the way and make him pay. So at the end of the day, I'm not really focused on him as much. I'm focused on training through him, because I feel as if Jake is strong, but you got to look at my resume. I'm 5'9". The average welterweight is 6'1", 6'2". So I was already fighting guys that are bigger than him, harder punching than him, stronger than him. Look at Darren Till. He was a damn ogre. And Jake doesn't outweigh me by much. I don't talk about this a lot, but I was cutting from 205 to 170. I came into this camp 208 pounds. Jake may not even weigh more than me. And I don't know what his reach is, but my reach is 74 inches. That's of the height of somebody that's 6'2". So I'm not really worried about size. And like my mom said, giants fall, and I made many giants fall in my day.
With a guy like him, I just think, and I've seen this happen even with guys that were real fighters, real boxers, and then they step up in class. I just believe that if you, at some point, if you let a guy show who he is, he will expose what he has or what he doesn't have. And I think, not to say you can't knock him out in 1 round, because he certainly hasn't been hit with anything like your right hand, but I just would love to see how he's going to react to, if there is one, round 2, round 3, round 4, and then is that part of your thing to think to take him into some deep water?
With all due respect, I try not to think. I'm at an age that I need to be at the low level. One thing I can tell you is that I can save you the thinking because he's going to know what the time it is when we walk in the ring. He's going to know what it feels like to get hit. And it's up to him to deal if he can deal with it, if it knocks him out, if he's going to stand up, if the corner want to throw the towel in. So for me, I don't need to think. It's hard enough to say, I think this for myself. I'm not going to get into his mind and try to think for him. That's an oxymoron. So what I'm going to do is know. I'm going to know I'm prepared. I'm going to know I'm stronger. I'm going to know I got more experience. I'm going to know I punch harder. I'm going to know I want this more. So I'm utilizing the nose. And my whole game plan is to really sprint for 8 rounds. I don't want to feel him out. I don't want to touch, do all this bullshit. I want to go out there and knock his head off. And if I get it done in the first round, fine. But what we're prepared for, if you don't get it done in the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, seventh round, 8 rounds, I want to be equally as dangerous in every round. When you watch my UFC title run, in the fourth and fifth round is sometimes where I do the most damage. So I'm just really taking that mindset of not taking what he does for granted, but using it as a reaction. I'm doing my shit. I'm doing what I want to do. If he throws something, I'm going to respect it. I'm going to address it, but I'm going to get right back on what I want to do.
Amber?
Because of your elite skill level compared to his, do you feel somewhat of a responsibility to put Jake Paul in his place like so many people would like you to do?
I just feel like for me, I've been underperforming for way too long, and I feel like I'm a supreme athlete. I feel like I got a mind, especially of the overall picture and sport in general, very creative, and it's very different than others. And I feel like I'm enjoying this once again. MMA for a while became a chore to me. I wasn't really enjoying the politics and the things that went with it. I never got a big super fight. I was always fighting the number one contender, the next up and coming guy, the guy that everybody else thought was, God's coming to earth. And I always had to take those guys out. Now I'm proving myself right. Now I'm proving my trainers right. Now I'm proving my family and loved ones right. So I feel like if I go out there and I compete at the level that I'm supposed to compete at every single time, and I just make this fight the new beginning of me going out there and violently fucking everybody up every single time, then we don't have to worry about him being embarrassed. He's going to get that anyway. So anything that the MMA community, the boxing people, or people that just, he make their skin crawl want to see, they're going to see that anyways. So if I focus on one thing, it's going to, kill all those birds with one stone. So I'm not really taking on that pressure to represent MMA. I'm not taking on that pressure to make him look stupid or knock him out only because I started a fighting. That's silly because I don't like to be limited either. I don't like people to tell me not to do music, movies, TV, podcasts, books, motivational speaking, anything God gives me gifts for, I feel like you should explore and you should do. Who's to tell him he can't box? I'm just going to tell him you're not about to beat me. You're not about to make it look close.
Well, and prior to this fight, it was Ben Askren who had that pressure on him, who is a former training partner of yours. I wonder what you thought of his performance. And it made me wonder how much he really trained for that fight. Do you know to what extent he put in the effort to prepare for that bout?
I don't know. But Ben's body type has always not been the one that's been shredded with a Julian salad and carved out of a rock. He's never been that guy. The reason why his style of wrestling and style of fighting works so well because he was always, it was a deception of his build. And his static strength is crazy. He's more like a European wrestler that when he grabs you and locks on, he can hold that same static position for 3, 4, 5 minutes straight. So I don't know what Ben exactly did for the training camp. Honestly, I'm his homie. He helped me win a lot of world titles. He's kept me accountable with conditioning and mindset. He's an extremely creative mind. So people need to ease up on my dog because they really got him messed up. But at the end of the day, I wasn't in training camp. So I can't say how hard he trained. I can't say what the game plan was. I can't say what he did. He just said, hey, I'm fighting Jake Paul and I want you to be there. And I said, I'm there. And that's all he needed was my support, my love, and me to be there. Win or lose, I was there for all of it. So at the end of the day, I'm a different being, though. Ben Askren was a world-class wrestler, world-class grappler that took those skills over to MMA, and he forced you into his world. He made the high-level power punching strikers. He made them miss. He got close to them. And when he locked on, it was pretty much, we can almost stop coaching at that point once you get close enough to grab guys. All those tools and all those weapons and all those things that made him who he was taken away in a boxing match. So when you look at Jake was trying to get the clout. He's keep going over to my world. You see him talking about Conor, him talking about Khabib, him talking about Askren. He never spoke about me. I put him in a position that his pride was tested. And that's the number one thing. Women, y'all can take notes. I'm dropping gems. The one thing you can do is if you test a man's pride, we're going to turn up. If you salute our pride, we'll give you the world. I tested his pride. I said, no MMA fighter want to fight you? Fight me. You was talking all that shit in the back. Let's get it cracking. None of these guys were contract available. All these people that talking about fighting, they could not fight because the way that our MMA contracts are structured, we can't just go bounce around and go on wrestle still on if we want to. You know what I mean? We gotta, live up to what we signed. I was in a position where randomly we had smoke in the back. Randomly, I was free and available. I was already going into boxing before he even said anything to me. And now I'm tapping at your pride card. You say you want to be treated as a real fighter. Now fight one. Now fight a real striker.
Just a couple more questions before I hand it over to Lee. Did you get any pushback from Dana White about taking this fight, even though your contract with the UFC was already over? And then is there any drug testing for this fight happening?
You know what's funny? He had a little weird acne that I was looking at. I was like, because I had a lot of guys in mixed martial arts that was taking a lot of performance enhancement drugs because they were trying to bring their level up to me, my athleticism, my explosiveness. And when they signed a contract against me or knew about the fight against me, I feel as if they felt inferior. And I feel like they felt like they needed more. They didn't have enough in them. I haven't asked that question yet, and I'm glad you reminded me because I'm going to get on my management about that because I don't know. But they can test me now. They can test me tomorrow. They can test me before and after. They could have tested me the second I signed the contract. I've always been a clean athlete. And, I feel like when my body is done and I can't compete with a younger fighter, that's my time to walk away. You're supposed to do as much as you can do within a window of opportunity that you got it. People that's trying to add time and add years and add, fights to the deal the wrong way, I don't have nothing to say because whatever reason you have, that's your reason. But when you lose, when you pop dirty, don't come up and acting like somebody dropped a multivitamin in your supplement and you didn't know. So I don't know, but I got some suspicions. Just maybe it's something we should look into.
And then the Dana White question, did he?
Dana White, no. To be honest, it got to the point at the end of the UFC, I was respectful to Dana, but I always found that me and him went back and forth more than him and Tito Ortiz. Nobody went back and forth more than me and Dana. I was at the party with his son, Kendrick Lamar, the only fighter there. Then I was the biggest lion motherfucker ever. Then we was back and forth on this. And then I was at the Super Bowl with him and his family. So it's like he respected me and liked me, but I think it came to a point where he didn't like the fact he couldn't control me. And I'm not like the other fighter. I'm not so excited. I got Dana on speed dial. I'm not just trying to be in the UFC. No, I was trying to be the GOAT. And I also had to look back from, just a more mature standpoint and say, I never owned the UFC. How the fuck I'm going to tell them what to do when I'm supposed to fight, how to promote me and all these other things? I had to really take a seat back and check myself that it was points in my career where I could have, not always thought, everybody was against me and always thought it was some conspiracy theory and really just went out there and beat people up and won. Because really it doesn't matter. If they want a person to win or if they thought this person can do it or whatever the situation may be, if I go out there and I beat people up and I win, it conquers all the problems. And Dan Lambert from American Top Team told me that a long time ago, but it was after my UFC run that I really recognized it.
Lee?
Recently, MMA legend Anderson Silva traveled to Mexico and he defeated former boxing champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a boxing match. What did you think when you heard about that result?
I just knew that Anderson Silva really could box. And then, just watching the way he beat Forrest Griffin and watching the way he beat some of the other guys. And he may have been playing around to us in MMA because MMA is really a sport that started with jiu-jitsu, which is respect, honor. The discipline of the belting system tells you that. And then the wrestlers came in. We were hardworking, humble, and all of our interviews is giving credit to our training partners and coaches. They really didn't understand that. But if you go to a boxing gym, go to Floyd Mayweather's gym and see what you see people on the outside of the ring. I'm pretty sure you guys have been there in the jaw jacket. It really makes light of the moment. It's not personal, but it just takes the edge off of making this such a high-level event. Watch Anderson Silva. he was at the top for most of his career. He fought Chris Lieben, 2 other guys, and he was already looking at Rich Franklin, sorry. So with that said, that's a lot of pressure. Maybe him relaxing and staying loose and making light of the situation and talking a little bit made him more relaxed and made him able to do what he needed to do. So now when he goes in boxing and successful, it doesn't surprise me. He's always had great boxing, great timing, great head motion. He was slated to fight Roy Jones Jr. a long time ago. But contractually, like I said, unless you're Conor McGregor that was, able to jump out of his box to fight Floyd Mayweather, before then, we'd seen nobody else be able to bounce back and forth.
Indeed. You've scored your share of knockouts with right crosses to the jaw, and I got to say, you got a hell of a right hand. And those were delivered with the smaller gloves used by UFC. When you fight Jake Paul, you'll be using bigger, bulkier gloves. So with 100% being the power that you feel with the UFC gloves, what percentage of your power will translate through the boxing gloves?
I think for me, it's stronger because I feel like the boxing glove doesn't allow your hands to be as open. In MMA, we gotta block for elbows. We gotta parry a lot more. We gotta be able to grab, grip, disengage, push, pull, clench your hands and lock like this. In boxing, we kind of more like this. You have to open your hand up in the glove really to parry. So I feel like when my hands come in with 6 more ounces of force, that's not helping him. That's just making sure I don't break my hand. So I feel like in a 4-ounce glove, I was dangerous. I feel like with a 10-ounce glove and training with the best, I feel like I'm deadly.
And with Jake being the taller man, you mentioned you had a 74-inch reach, so maybe your reach is about the same. But
what is his reach? I may have a longer.
I'm not sure.
There's been a couple fights with guys with 6'2". What is it?
His reach is 76.
Okay, so
yeah, it's been a couple fights with it's been a couple fights that I've been against guys that have been 6'2", 6'1", and they reached shorter than mine, and I was able to get there first. His reach is, he got a decent reach. If he's 6'1", his reach is maybe 3 to 4 inches longer than what his height sustains. So you also got to know how to use it. You know what I mean? The difference, like having a 74-inch reach and the 76, that's 2 inches. If your technique is not sound, if you're not working with the Mayweather camp and extending all your punches and making it count and breathing and not, overly showing when you're about to throw, I just got a feeling that even if he had a year, if he had a full year dedicating every part of his life to boxing and training martial arts and no days off and, no goofing around, I don't think it's enough time. I don't think it's enough time for the knowledge I have, the ability, and just the ability with dealing with being in the red zone, being tired. Like today when I was running, I was so damn tired, but I'm not going to let, Mayweather's crew think I'm fucking out of shape. So he said, okay, we'll go backwards for 30 seconds. Cool. And then when you turn around, we're going 75% for the long stretch. And I'm out. I don't care what my lungs said. I don't care what my brain and body tell me you about to slow down. No, because when I'm in a fight, you think a person is going to take it easy on you because you're getting tired? No. If he gets tired on me, it's going to be the worst night of his life. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt badly. And this whole little thing about him going into this boxing and thinking about a belt, he's going to quickly reconsider that.
Yep. Smitty?
Yeah, and something you and I spoke about, Lee, they claim I don't know a damn thing about Paul, except all I know is YouTube, and that's enough for me to not want to know anything. But I guess he did some wrestling or whatever, but you were an elite wrestler, and yeah. I believe that fighters can take advantage of their lack of size, lack of stature. If they know how to use it, get on the inside. Is getting on the inside, using your strength, maneuvering as a wrestler and body work, is that something that we should expect from you on the 29th against Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's your job to ask me, but it's my job not to give you up the lay of the land on what I plan on doing. But I plan on being complete. Absolute. I plan on being lacking of nothing, not lacking of conditioning for all around, not lacking of power, not lacking of counters, not lacking of just intelligence on where I should be at and what's my best opportunity for success. But at the end of the day, like, he was a wrestler, and his brother, more so than him, wrestled, in Division I. Ohio is a very tough wrestling state. I coached and recruited for a very long time. If you place in Ohio State or California or Pennsylvania or New York, we're really going to give you more attention than we would someone from Nebraska, someone from a different state. Those guys that got the pedigree from like Iowa and those different states, they just built differently. Dependently, you know, the mentality, the competition level is higher. So he's going to be competitive. And I think that's what he's trying to trick you guys. Oh, I'm just a YouTuber, just Disney kid. And this is a grown ass man that's won 5 titles and dangerous and vicious. So that way he got a back pocket excuse when he get knocked the fuck out. So at the end of the day, I respect the fact that he come from the pedigree of a wrestler. That his mind's gonna be a little sharp. He is a little cuckoo. Let's be real. When he signed the contract, that should have been proof enough for that. And secondly, he's the type of kid that's a bully and somebody's trying to teach him a lesson and he laughs through the lesson. So it wasn't really even taught. Think about when he took Floyd's hat. He got beat up. He was laughing through the whole thing. So it's kind of almost taking the sting away. So I think about that as a fighter. If I'm punching him and hitting him with a shot, just because he laughing don't mean it don't hurt. Just because he got up don't mean, you know, mean 1 or 2 more, he out for the count. So that's a difficult person to deal with. But fortunately for him, you know, fortunately for me, I've dealt with that kind of opponent that I hit a million times, knocked him down, and they pop up like the Walking Dead. He's never dealt with. He don't have a person that can spar. He don't have anybody that can mimic the knowledge and what I'm going to bring to the table. So he's at a disadvantage of trying to simulate a version of me. He can get a bulky wrestler that with a hard right hand, but my mind is something that he can't replicate.
Floyd certainly heard me break down enough of his fights in the past, and I've been in the ring with him before on my show. So even though you don't want to hear a game plan, if I was breaking down this fight, I would say, as far as going against your keys to victory, he throws a big right hand. That's all he really throws. He typically looks straight down to the ground after he throws it, so he doesn't see what to throw on a follow-up shot. He loads up on every shot, and he'll gas out after a couple of rounds. So you didn't necessarily need to hear that, but because I know Amber's going to put a lot of money on you, there you go. Hopefully,
just one thing about me, I don't reject wisdom from anybody. If you're a bum when you're a billionaire and God give you a word to give me, I receive it. And I feel like that's what keeps us humble. That's what keeps us afloat. And what you're saying is not anything wrong. It's not anything that, you know, a person that's been in the game for a while wouldn't take knowledge to and listen. So I appreciate it.
So my final thing is two questions for you. What are your goals beyond August 29th? That's number one. What are your goals beyond this fight?
I'm here. You guys are going to see me more. You're going to see me boxing more. I haven't decided to hang up the MMA, but man, I'm having fucking fun training boxing. It's kind of hard to want to go back into to be honest, like maybe I shouldn't say this, maybe I should, who cares? I'm looking from the outside in, I was in that bubble for so long. And when I stepped out of the bubble and I'm looking back into it, it's a lot of corny shit. It's a lot of tacky stuff. It's like, man, I was in that bubble. It was so like nested mentality. There's nothing else. And you can't, you know what I mean? It really, so it's liberating. I'm at a point right now where I'm just free and forget the weight advantage, forget all that other stuff. Like, I was cutting 205 pounds, sometimes 20, sometimes 26 pounds the week of the fight. And I still was performing at a high level. You know what I mean? I'm going to be fighting way closer to my walk around weight. You know what I mean? If I lift my shirt up now, I already got abs. So it's not like I need to lose weight. So I'm fighting closer to where I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be more explosive. I'm not going to have that big dehydrating cut. In the last 5 times, I barely made weight. Like, I don't give no passes. Like, when I did a lot of the analyst stuff and people miss weight, I'm on your ass because you know how much weight I cut? I don't give a fuck if you miss weight by 0.2 pounds when I almost died in the sauna for 2 hours and barely lost 0.2. But I had to find a way to get energy to get up the next morning and make weight because I ain't finna give nobody 20% of none of my money. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's a pride thing. It's not a bingo competition where like, oh, today the weight's 175. You know what the fuck the weight is. This is your whole gig. So for me, I feel like all these things included, I really feel free. I feel like I belong here. Certain times in not UFC, just in mixed martial arts, I never felt like I belong. I felt like everybody wanted to flip tires and go on turf at the same time. I felt like everybody wanted to have a nice suit on at the same time. Everybody wanted to talk shit at the same time. Everybody wanted to call out Connor at the same time. It's a whole bunch of people that are just fucking puppets that do what everybody else is doing. When you look at it, everybody's doing the same thing. Go back to UFC countdowns. It was a time when everybody was fucking flipping tires on the turf and no battle ropes. It was a time when everybody was wearing suits. It was a time when everybody was talking shit, right? It was a time when everybody had some like motion coach that was fucking telling him how to breathe in the forest. Like it's like I never fit in because I'm an individual. In boxing, my individuality is welcome and it's embraced and it allows me to be free. So I'm gonna box several times before you see me with 4-ounce gloves on again.
Well, the guy on your shirt was the first professional athlete I became very close with, the greatest of them all, Muhammad Ali. And certainly Ali was always one to end every interview with a prediction of sorts. So what's your prediction? Jake Paul, August 29th in Cleveland, what's going to happen?
He's getting knocked the fuck out, all the way out. No controversy, no TKO. I don't want no T in front of it. I want it KO. I want it either this, or I want to see a top line in there. So for me, I'm motivated. I'm excited. I'm coming out there with everything I got, and I just don't think he can take that.
Well, we want to wish you the number one, health, and best of success against Jake Paul. And thanks for joining us on In This Corner, the podcast. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys.